we've covered your journalist, reporter, media
Yay!
life.
Okay.
So siguro now we can delve a bit more into Guthrie Jensen and your
yes.
profession now as a consultant.
Yes.
Maybe we can delve a bit on family corporations.
Yeah, okay.
and-
So I run a program called Managing the Family Business, no? And to cut the long story short, I've done a lot of companies in the Philippines, no? 80% are family owned. Okay? And every time I conduct training, I would hear of some participants who would say na, ito yung nangyayari in a normal, kunyari in a conglomerate, in a multinational company, but there are certain dynamics also at play in family businesses. So I was the consultant, journalist, and researcher that I am. I'm always curious, I'm always on the lookout for research. And when I did the necessary research, I uncovered a lot of literature, a lot of inputs on the challenges that face many family businesses. So, and of course, you were able to attend that.
Yeah, that was a very productive session. And I was very impressed with the...
Thank you.
Kahit 2 days yun, I was able to get many inputs.
So what did you learn the most nga pala? Kung magtatanong ngayon.
Well, may mga best practices. I learned na each family or any company may unique dynamics. So it's hindi one size fits all. You have to understand fully anong situation. Yeah, we also discussed, diba? Like, is it a good idea to involve in-laws or no in-laws, or how to handle mga conflicts? Or minsan there are cases of entitlement because akala mo na since you're blood, then you can get away with things.
Yes.
So it's finding that balance also
That's true.
sa mga non-family employees versus, of course, the shareholders na part sa family.
Oh, great.
So I understand it's very unique. So it's complex.
It is.
There are many underlying complexities behind it, and it's certainly not walk in the park.
Yeah.
So it's something that needs discussion where egos are set aside,
Right.
and there's an objective discussion na walang personalan.
Yes. Oo. When I did the research for the program, I was personally very curious about 2 developments or two pieces of information. The first being, when you look at the Philippines, for example, and many countries, 80% of companies worldwide are family-owned. So sa Philippines, mga 80% yan. Now, when you look at the data is not very good. Why do I say that? Because out of 100% of family businesses, only about 40%
Hindi masustain.
Hindi
It doesn't
masustain.
last. Yung third generation somehow squanders it or are not interested.
Right.
So hindi yan discussed thoroughly.
Right. So buti kung umabot pa ng 3rd generation. That's the thing, no? So from the 1st generation to the 2nd generation, only 40%, roughly 40% make it. And from the 2nd generation to the 3rd generation, only about 13%, if I remember correctly, make it. So ganun ka konti. And you're right, no? Pagdating sa 3rd generation, the pattern worldwide is a lot of families end up squandering the gains of previous generations. Now, I found this very interesting because if you look at our demographics now, no, if you look at the baby boomers, diba, those who were born 1945 to 1962, a lot of them have either retired already or are in the process of retiring. So imagine kung majority of that are family businesses, they are now passing the baton to the 2nd generation. Diba? That's where our society is right now. And therefore, there is that challenge and opportunity to make sure na if the baby boomers are passing the business down to Gen X or Gen X passing the baton to the millennials and the Gen Z, no, depending on the age, no, if we want business continuity and success, we have to do the turnover properly. But you're right, no? It is very complex kasi ano tayo di ba? The conflicting positions or areas, di ba, na you are a family member, but at the same time, you are part of operations, you are the owner. Di ba? Meron kang empleyado who happens to be your sibling or your child, di ba? We say that we love our family unconditionally, di ba? And if you remember, unconditional nga yung love, pero as an employee, puro mali. Puro bulilyaso sa trabaho. So wait, can I fire a family member who happens to be employed? But I love that family member. He is my flesh and blood. Right. So, in the program, of course, that you attended, di ba, we discussed, di ba, about, at the end of the day, di ba, professionalizing the business. Kasi, what we do teach in the program is, at the end of the day, di ba, the objective of the family is for the business to survive so that it continues serving the
sustainability.
Family. Yes. It continues serving the family. So the family ang makikinabang in the end. And that is why the family now must make good policies, good decisions, and to align everyone in the family so that we hear stories of families squabbling publicly pa naman, no?
Pangit, no? Sa news.
Oo. So it's bad for the business but even worse for the family. So we do not want to wish
dirty
that.
laundry.
Exactly. 'Di ba? Yung airing washing their dirty linen in public, unfortunately.
Yeah. But I think the root cause siguro, it would go back to yung personality complexities
Correct.
of whoever is in charge. And yung attitude also. Because some are very close-minded, egotistical, na walang room for open dialogue or objective discussion. So I think that's really a danger na.
Yeah, it is. And that is why, when you look at personality clashes, kasi for example, you're right, you are dealing with a boss who happens to be your mother or your father. For example, you're a child, you're dealing with a parent. And you have a disagreement. Now, syempre, ang hirap dyan is you are in a conflict situation with a fellow employee who is at the same time your relative. Diba? Pero, if there is no preparation in place, walang usapan, no policies in place, magkakagalit yung dalawang yan. So may mga cases na mag-ina, mag-ama, nag-aaway, but it becomes very deep because, for example, I'm a child angry at my father who happens to be president of the company, for example. It's very tricky because I might be angry with a parent, as a parent, personal, but at the same time, I'm angry as an employee. Which is which? Ideally, you'd have to be able to draw the line. But
refrain ba yan when
exactly.
people, of course, human nature to take things personally.
Correct.
So hindi yan mawala.
And that is why
dumot or hugot.
Hugot talaga.
Hugot.
And that is why two things, 'di ba? The earlier you are able to distinguish that it's complex. It's really starting with the realization that if you go into business with family, it is going to be complex. But it is doable. Okay? If, this is where the second thing now comes in, if you set the right policies in place. So for example, if there is an agreement with the family na, okay, we will not always agree with each other. Okay?
Agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree. Pero, we put the following measures in place na if we are in conflict with each other, these are our rules. We will resort to calm conversation. We will use calm language. We will not use below the belt language.
Filter out yung mga personal stuff, subjective stuff, stay objective.
Correct. So I always say in managing the family business that has to be put into place as a policy. So a lot of families ang nangyayari is magkakaaway-away muna and then post-mortem na lang or in hindsight, 'di ba? Which is already too late. Baka by then fragmented na yung family. So ideally, the goal is to put the policies in place before they are needed and before they become emotional issues. So that objective pa yung policy
So
making.
that's where the family constitution comes into play, which is very
Yes.
critical. So you would advise that it's better to set that up early.
Yes. The earlier you can create a family constitution. Now, what is a family constitution? Kasi, wow, constitution, di ba? It sounds daunting if you are like the Ayalas, which are who are in their 8th generation already. Now, of course, they would have a very, I presume, a thicker family constitution. But what about the businesses that are smaller pa, etc.? Yes, it is good to come up with a family constitution. It need not be a thick one right away, but you can start with policies like, halimbawa, communication guidelines, protocols, if we are in a conflict situation. Of course, there are legal aspects as well. No? The earlier that parents, for example, the first generation, they're able to speak to their children about how do we divide the estate, the better. The earlier the better. Hindi yung too late na. Namatay na yung isang parent tapos dun pa lang pag-uusapan. It becomes a difficult issue. So, I always advise you can start small, di ba? The things that you can easily agree on and then work your way up.
I think mas mahirap if it's a bigger family, no?
Yes.
If maraming brothers and sisters,
Correct.
so magulo, then they'll make children eventually. So
Yes.
the tree gets a lot bigger. So
Oo.
it gets more complex yung
Yes.
paghati.
So,
Plus if diversified yung businesses,
Correct.
mas complex pa.
oo, that's why we discussed. Kaya the earlier talaga that the business is in place. Kasi the earlier that the constitution is in place, the better. Kasi usually, a good family constitution is in place when the founders are still there. Because they really set the tone. They are the ones who created
Yung
and
nag-start,
founded the
no?
business. They are the ones who,
Had the vision.
the vision.
Or
Diba? And we give it to them, no, as part of the respect then for the first generation na what do you want to see in this family business? The succeeding generations, of course, their objective is to maintain, sustain, and grow the business. Okay? So, the earlier the agreements are, yung kunyari between the first to the second generation, the better. But, you're right. Pagdating ng third generation, mas marami nang magpipinsan. Not everyone is involved in the
that's
business.
the general narrative, no? The first gen makes the money, the second retains it, then
Right.
the third squanders it away.
Unfortunately.
That's the perception.
That's the perception. That's the pattern.
And that's
yeah.
true in most cases.
In
no?
most cases, yeah. Kaya only 13% make it to the third generation. But it need not be the case. Diba? For now, kung yung 13% lang talaga ang magsusurvive into the third generation, at least there's still hope in the sense that you can be one of the 13%. And that's why the proper policies have to be put in place. So that's the hope, no? So the earlier a family can create the policies, no? So ang policies dyan would be guidelines. So there are, ano yan eh, you can look it up, no? There's, what I teach is the Harvard, it's a very universal framework, no? The Harvard 3 circles of family businesses. No? So there have to be guidelines in terms of, number 1, the family, how the family must communicate with each other, must deal with each other, values of the family. So that's the family is one circle. The second circle, of course, is the business itself, like operations. So usually naman yan na yung employee handbook, for example, ethics, vision, mission, values of the business. And then third, of course, is the ownership, the stockholders, diba? So the bylaws of the organization. So there are basically 3 sets of guidelines that have to be aligned with each other. And when you put them together, that is, of course, the overall guideline or policy of the family business.
So you would need to involve yung expert ng family constitution na lawyer. No?
Ideally,
Ideally.
It need not be a lawyer right away. No? So for example, I'm not a lawyer, but I've facilitated sessions for many families, for a couple of families, for their family constitutions. Normally, the conversations are very productive pag family na lang muna. 'Di ba? So they can agree. Oftentimes kasi if there is a stranger in the room, parang minsan they're hesitant pa to share what is in their mind. That happens, 'di ba? But yes, once there is a draft of a family constitution, the family must of course consult a lawyer na rin. Kasi the family constitution, by the way, is a legally binding document. Yun ang maganda dyan. So, para mabawasan, if not, we're able to eliminate all conflicts, sana. The family must create these policies in a document that will really bind the family, and that the family will really follow that document. And that is the family constitution. So, if everyone signs on it, legally binding yan.
Pero paano
Kontrata
if
yan.
in the first place, wala yung willingness to communicate or to have that discussion?
That's true, no? Ano yan? Well,
In the first place, if wala yung attitude to clarify certain matters that might be problematic in the future, how
Yeah.
can you even begin
How
to
can you
address?
even begin? Oo. Well, we always say, 'di ba, in a collaborative setup, 'di ba, if there are many disagreements, there are always still areas that we can agree on. So, I always advise families na, okay, we might have disagreements on certain areas, but at the very least, if you're starting your family constitution, start with what you actually agree on already and put them into writing.
So keep it simple and basic
Oo.
muna.
Correct.
Start there.
Yes. So for example, 'di ba? Family constitution can include, for example, what are the values of the family? That's one. What does the family want from the business? How
Anong
does
goal?
the business serve us? What is the goal of the family? Siguro naman hindi na
Or
contentious issue
ultimate
yun.
purpose,
Ultimate purpose of the business, 'di ba?
driving force.
So
of
there
this.
are still many non-contentious issues that the family can talk about. And therefore, we start with that. 'Di ba? Tapos, the objective palagi, when you start that discussion, as you create more agreements and more policies,
mas harmonious in the long run. No?
mas harmonious in the long run, if you're able to create policies together, then you are also able to build trust and solidify that trust. Once you have that trust, then you can venture into the more difficult conversations. But that's also why, at the same time, it helps to have a facilitator from time to time. Diba? Because you need a neutral person who will guide the family and keep things grounded and objective.
So yung lawyer or yung yung expert.
Yeah.
What
Oo.
would you say would be characterized as a difficult conversation?
Okay. So for example, pagdating sa hatian ng mana, that is always the
Share.
trickiest, di ba?
Yung
The
percentage.
sharing, kanino pupunta ito, yung mana, how many shares, a percentage. And typically, in my experience facilitating for different families, di ba, a lot of families will say that, Ralph, kasi ang morbid ng usapan, di ba? Because, for example, the children are there are 4 children, the 2 parents are there, di ba? Yung thinking palagi is, para namang pinapatay na natin yung parents natin. They're still there, they're still in the room, and parang we are already talking about kung paano natin paghahati-hatian, how we will divide the properties when they go. So, it's understandable. Siyempre, we love our parents. We don't want to do that to them. But the conversation has to begin, di ba? We cannot avoid difficult conversations because we are uncomfortable. Because here's the thing, if there's one thing we learned from COVID, di ba? Especially during the height of the difficult variants, di ba? People can come and go anytime. And if that is a scenario, 'Di ba? You don't want to be caught flat-footed without an agreement or policy in place. Madali sabihin for parents na, o basta mga anak, kayo na bahala, maghati-hati kayo, love each other and be fair to each other. But as I would always say, and I've heard this from other people as well, 'di ba? Sabi nga, 'di ba? What do you call this? Blood is thicker than water, but money is thicker than blood.
Yeah, totoo yan.
Diba? So the moment there is money already, so notice, the difference here is, it's one thing na hindi pa nawawala yung first generation. Pag-usapan na natin paano hatiin yung money. Usually the conversation is calm pa. Pero if the previous generation is out, and then the money is about to be distributed, the psychology of people changes. Hindi na calm.
Siyempre, yung human nature, yung greed kicks in, yung ego, ganun.
Exactly. Oo. And sometimes that is where the accusations would start to come in, whether accurate or inaccurate. Kasi there might be that feeling na, teka, dinadaya nyo yata ako. I'm not getting my fair share.
Yung mga personal issues lumabas na.
And if ever there are personal issues, underlying personal issues from childhood, from work,
mga resentments from the past,
exactly,
yung mga unique dynamics.
Right. They can also surface. So, minsan, ang maganda dyan, if the first generation or the older generation is still there, it is always ideal that the previous generation is still there. Kasi, typically, we, in the next generation, always defer and respect our parents. That's why, if you are in the first generation, simulan na natin. Kasi, you can pretty much dictate to your children, and they respect you as you're being the parent, and you're the parent, and the children are the children, di ba? They will respect your guidance, and they will not want to disobey you. So that is the opportunity for the first generation.
How many families had you dealt with or have consulted with you in your many years?
Well, I've been running the program we launched the program in 2018, so this year is the 5 years na pala, no, that I've been running the program. So marami na rin, both in the public seminars and in-house training as well, no. So marami, di ko na mabilang actually. Of course, there are a few that stand out kasi talagang you hear different unique issues talaga per family, eh. And you come to appreciate really, the dynamics and the challenges. But I have also been privileged to see how families really support and love each other.
But what's the worst you've seen? Because I've seen or I've read na may hitman, may order to kill this certain sibling. It gets
Ako
that
naman,
bad ba? That
no.
it goes to murder or
Oo.
it goes to crime.
I'm lucky.
Have you seen that?
I'm lucky to not have had to facilitate something like that. Kasi there are a couple of cases na, you're right, may hitman, minsan involved pa ang local authorities like the police, 'di ba? Meron ng barricade in the headquarters or the office. Meron ng safe or vault na nilimas na yung pera. There are public cases like that, and they are very unfortunate. I'm fortunate because I have not had to handle them. But I also say that if that is the only time you are creating a family constitution, I'm very sorry to say that that's already too late. Sa korte na yan.
Magulo
actually.
na.
Magulo na masyado, di ba? Because there is a big likelihood that you will not even want to sit down to come up with a family constitution. Diba? So, the lesson here is wag na nating hintayin yon. So, a lot of the family businesses that would come to me are typically parents who are about to retire. They are in their late 50s or early 60s. I've had, of course, family businesses na the first generation is still involved but turning 80. years old. Talagang he really wants to continue working, di ba? So, okay pa yun. No problem naman there. So, those are the typical cases that we have. Kasi yun, you still have a good opportunity to create a family business. Pero maraming cases yan, whether in the Philippines or abroad, di ba, na too late na when they start talking about what is a policy.
Anong personal opinion mo on in-laws getting involved in the business? Based on what you've seen, based on the cases you've covered.
Oo.
Is it good? Is it not good?
Ano naman?
Like if ikaw, would you involve your in-laws?
Right. Okay, so here's the thing. There is no evidence that in-laws are bad for the business. Let's get that clear, okay? There are many businesses out there that have involved in-laws and they are doing well, okay? But there are also many companies that have decided to not involve their in-laws.
So case to case.
Case to case
It really
siya.
depends.
Yes. It depends on the family culture, the history. It would also depend on the very nature of the people who are involved, the kind of people who are involved. Kasi, and this is where lang it gets tricky. Kasi di ba, minsan ang nangyayari dyan, you have one family member one in-law who is well-liked. Okay? So, tanggap siya sa trabaho. Kasi we love that person. He or she is a very good in-law. Yung isa,
Not so
popular. Diba? So,
Or
what happens?
aloof
Hindi siya
sa
tanggap.
family.
So, that's the problem. If the policy making is you are only accepted into the family business because of your closeness to a family member or your popularity, sabihin na natin, in the family, you're on shaky ground. Diba? But if the policy of the family is we will hire people according to qualification, according to competency, and you accepted that person based on that, then there will not be any accusations na, oh, bakit si ganito tinanggap pero itong in-law na to hindi. Diba? You cannot be accused of playing favorites. That's the goal of a family
So
constitution.
dapat may criteria also that's
Yes.
based on merit, based
Correct.
on performance. At
Now,
hindi lang personal favoritism,
correct.
nepotism, whatever.
Oo. If the decision is to allow in-laws to join the business. Now, there are families that flat out right, para simple and no complications, we do not involve family members in the business. In-laws in the family business.
Pero there are cases where an in-law can be hired, pero they go through the normal
through.
process as an
Yes.
employee
Correct, di ba?
without
So,
special favors.
oo. If there is a policy or if that is the policy in place. Again, you will go back to what is the
Balik,
policy.
yeah.
Oo. So, yun. Pero, it can get tricky. Di ba? It can get tricky when you involve in-laws. But it's not bad. Okay, again, there's no proof that in-laws are bad for the business.
Kasi imagine if we have an in-law, then magaling talaga sa work and can really get the job done.
Right.
Then wala.
Oo.
But I understand it can get tricky if
Yes.
you have an in-law that's not part but keeps demanding or may entitlement na,
Correct. Because I'm the in-law, I'm
na
part of
dapat
the
ganito.
ownership. Kaya I go back to the three circles as well kasi if you are an in-law and you become part of the family business, you now are part of operations. So you have to follow the rules of the business.
Yeah.
But because you are also part of the family, again, the other circle, there has to be guideline then within the family. So, babalik ka sa family constitution and what are the mechanics now for you as a member of the family and for you as a member or, in this case, employee of the business. So, kailangan the guidelines are there.
Pero case to case, no? Kasi I really imagine may mga toxic na scenario.
Yes.
Na unqualified, then mag-demand, then,
Correct.
then magtampo, yung mga ganyan. Then,
Yes.
then iba na yung mga mood sa gatherings,
Right.
di ba?
That's why also the direction or the ideal here is you put the policies in place so that the goal is to professionalize the family business. 'Diba? And therefore, the family business now becomes, a business that really serves the interests of the family. Kasi at the end of the day, if we end up just fighting with each other, or you hire, whether it is an in-law or an actual member of the family by blood, but, screws up the business, so to speak, and the business shuts down. Diba? So, para saan pa? No? So, the business, sayang, the opportunity as well. So,
If I ask your personal opinion,
Yeah.
in the session we had that scenario where si non-family, long-time employee, whether he should be promoted or si next in line, yung anak,
yes.
who would you pick?
Oo. Professional.
Professional.
Oo. Because you have to think of the entire business pa rin as a whole.
That
diba?
it can function properly, no? That it can run smoothly.
Yeah, so part of professionalizing the business really is, yun nga professional succession. Everything is based on meritocracy kasi as a business, you want to attract the best talent. So, if the feeling of the owner of the business is, kaming family lang ang magaling, you will lose out on the opportunity to hire really talented people out there. And talented people out there will avoid your company because for them, hindi ka what you call employer of choice, 'di ba? You want people, the best talent, the best people to be attracted to your company. You want them applying for your company. But if they find out na, family lang ang umaasenso dyan, family lang ang napopromote, they will apply for your competitor instead. That's a challenge.
But I think some are worried na they lose control on the
Yes.
side of the family, that all these non-family executives would take over.
Yes.
So, paano kaya
Paano
yan
yun?
mabalance?
Alright. And that is why...
A healthy mix would be ideal.
Correct. Well, back to policy na yan. And it goes back to how the family wants it for their business. For example, in some families, simple. We have more people now who are not family members who are running the business. Okay? And therefore, what happens here is that you have here not necessarily a family business, but a business that is owned by the family. What does that mean? Puro non-family yung executives, but they are accountable to the board of directors, which is the family.
Yeah.
So that's
I think
one way.
I would like that setup.
So you have
personally.
to put that mechanism in your operations and in your board so that there is oversight and monitoring.
Kasi I think it's important that the family retains that sense of ownership
Right.
and control.
And control.
Even at the macro level.
Right. Now, the other thing that I have also seen in a family, I've seen this in 2 families already, no? Sabi nila, sige, we can run the business as professionally as possible, kahit non-relatives yan, no? Basta based on merit and qualification, we can put them there. But this family, 2 families that I know, sabi nila, basta ang CFO position, Chief Financial
Dapat
Officer,
family.
dapat family. It works for them.
Yeah.
Pwede.
Ako, agree ako na dapat family. Si CFO.
Yes.
Magulo na if si non-family.
Oo. But siguro, ang idadagdag ko na rin dyan, whether you appoint a family member to the CFO position, but you're right, no? Ano yan? You have to make sure that there is at least one member of the family that has a solid background in finance. That's a challenge.
Opinion
talaga.
ko, family shareholders still oversee or nakaloop
Yes.
sa whatever is going on.
Correct.
At my voice. Doesn't have to be na sila maka-decide lahat, pero my voice.
Yeah. Oo, kasi 'di ba, merong iba diyan, halimbawa, families very comfortable na they feel that the business is already run by very competent people, which is good, no? But some may see it as a temptation or invitation to say, hands off na ako dyan. Diba? Yeah. Until makikita mo na lang na, hala, where is the cash? What happened to the money? Ganyan, too late na.
Because I've witnessed this na may family corporation pero masyado hands off yung family.
Exactly.
So na-delegate so much sa non-family that in the process maraming mga lusot.
Maraming lusot.
Or yung na-empower si non-family CEO, COO.
Tapos,
Then,
tinaasan na nila yung sweldo nila
Yeah.
without the family knowing it or
So now,
realizing it.
out of the loop or in the dark na si
Correct.
family.
Correct.
So which is dangerous for, you would say, it could be a takeover.
Exactly. So you need a strong board. Hindi pwedeng mancom lang or execom lang na puro non-family, di ba? If there is no family member who is part of the mancom or the execom, then as a family business, you will have to put in place a mechanism that makes them accountable to owners. And that is typically the board meeting.
Because like in a scenario, let's say si family member, hindi qualified, then meron si long time non-family member. I think pwede naman na siguro you would say figurehead muna si non-family si family and then baka mentor niya si
Yes. Oo.
si non-family but he's there or he can call the shots sa macro level then
Right.
parang advisor niya si non-family.
Yeah. We see in some families na, for example, I am the president of the company. I'm turning the reins over to the next president or the next CEO. And the question palagi dyan is, anak ko na ba yung papalit sa akin? Or is it a non-family member? The best way to go, again, for me, as an expert, is professional talaga is the way to go. So which means, if the next in line to the president and the one who is most competent is a non-family member, I always suggest go for the non-family member. But most likely after that non-family member, yan na yung second or succeeding generation, 'di ba? So yung mga nasa next generation then have to be reminded na if a family member is first appointed before you, it does not mean that you will never be promoted na. 'Di ba? If you are gunning for that position and you are preparing for it, yes, prepare for it, get trained, get equipped, and work your way up pa rin, 'di ba? 'Di ba? Families are always, a lot of parents are always saying na they don't want children to have a sense of entitlement, 'di ba? In business, it is pretty much the same. You get your position out of merit.
Yeah, tama.
Oo.
Because I imagine naka-demoralize yan sa company. If you have this family, yung anak, then baka party boy, baka drug addict, di ba?
Oo,
Then-
so definitely,
then
no?
nag-set ng bad example sa
Correct.
buong team.
That's why also, in many family constitutions, naka-spell out yan, no? So, as family members and potential employees of the organization, what are the qualifications? I know of at least one family na if a member of the family commits any illegal and you're convicted of it, illegal and immoral acts, no, that that threaten or actually destroy the name of the family, you resign from your position. Pwede yun, no? 'Di ba? And hindi siya nagiging problema because one, the family did not wait for it to happen. They talked it out already na, oh guys, you have to make sure that you lead good lives so that we do not come to a situation where we will need to enforce this. Diba? Maganda yung alam na ng family beforehand, oh, wag kayong mag-iskandalo. Okay? So that it forces you what? To behave, actually.
So
no?
being a member of the family, there are certain rules you have to live by,
Yeah.
may expectations.
Right.
Because you can't just go about doing
Yeah.
whatever.
There are rules and there are responsibilities, no? Kasi especially if your family business is growing or has grown, there's also a big likelihood that you are also becoming or you have become a prominent name in the community. So therefore, you are not just protecting
Reputation also.
Correct. You're not just protecting the economic viability of your business. You are also now protecting the name of your family because the name of your family will affect the business. 'Di ba? So kung kunyari yung family maganda yung business, diba? Pero they know that the owners are puro, I don't know, drug addicts or alcoholics or maraming
I
scandal.
think common yan.
Diba?
I've seen
You've
some.
seen it? Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Oh, sino yan? Wag na natin tanongin. No, but, di ba, if you are a potential investor in that business, you might see good financial statements, di ba, for that company kasi the company is doing well, pero yung family, bakit ganyan ang reputation? I might not want to do business with them.
Yeah.
And they will go for your competitor instead and invest there.
Because of the values and what they stand for. That can.
Right.
Okay. Like my family, known as drug addicts or
Wag naman sana,
so
no?
ma-turn off yung mga, let's say, mga religious towards like, itong family corp, immoral acts pala or mahilig sa mga
kung ano-ano.
drugs or prostitutes, whatever, or what have you.
Exactly. It brings your business down, it distracts your employees, and also, again, you want to attract the best employees. So if the family has a reputation na ganito sila mang
It
trato
can
ng
attract
tao.
the wrong people or it can turn off some people
Yes.
na potential
employees.
growth sana for your business, whether good employees or good clients or whoever.
Yes, exactly. So that's a challenge. Kaya the earlier we're able to orient family and put measures in place, the more advantageous for your business.
I actually read somewhere that there was this VP or family member of this certain company. I won't name it na lang. Pero parang ginamit niya yung marketing nila to attack yung whoever government or the present administration. So nag-backlash
To the business?
Yeah.
Wow. Oo.
Kasi parang pinag-imitan yung company based on yung ads nila na very clear na attacking the administration.
Yeah.
So it backfired. Then I think as a result, that VP or yung anak had to retract and come out with a statement na.
Yes.
But it had repercussions.
It had repercussions.
Parang they had to give it up, then parang na-buy out as a result.
As a
Because
result.
of yung political stance niya, very vocal about it, then utilizing yung marketing ng company.
That's true. Kasi at the end of the day, there are two things there. You're right. One, as you go up the corporate ladder, or if your surname is associated with the company because you own it, diba? Any move of the company is the move of the family. Or any move
Mas
of the family.
scrutinized, no?
And any move of the family is the move of the business. So, if you use your company resources to attack politicians, there will definitely be backlash. Ang malungkot dyan, I think, is
Madamay yung
madamay
family
the rest
members.
of the business, diba? Because of the actions of one person. That's
may repercussions.
the repercussions. Kaya even that, no, yung engagement on social media, what constitutes ethical behavior has to be defined by the business and the family. That's the challenge and opportunity.
Okay. Ito, what are your thoughts pala on prenuptial agreements?
Okay, prenups. Okay. Typically, as the business grows, they have become increasingly more common. Marriage is tricky, no?
Kasi marriage involves, of course, spirituality, convictions ng tao,
Yes.
views on marriage.
Right now, a lot of businesses, pag first generation, obviously wala pa. The business is just too small, no? Second generation, meron na yung iba na families. But we find it most common among the third generation. And typically, pagdating ng third generation, it really becomes a necessity already. But either way, second generation pa lang, there are more families now that require their children, second generation, to enter into prenups. Kasi it's really tricky, di ba? There are many legalities about it.
Pero yung prenup, is it a one-size-fits-all in accordance sa family code? Or can you customize your own agreement?
Yes. Oo.
No?
So oftentimes naman yan, negotiable. You can customize it as long as the advice that I have is it has to be a fair policy to everyone. It cannot be yung
One-sided.
one-sided
masyado.
na parang, oh, you're marrying someone we like, ito yung prenup agreement mo. The other sibling is you're marrying someone we don't like, we will give you a stricter prenup. So it has to be, of course, equitable.
Yeah.
So
Kasi
again,
may
we
mga
don't.
unconscionable prenups na I think that go overboard na
Yes.
I think minsan it can ruin the
The
substance din
relationship.
ng
And the
marriage, or
relationship.
it can create friction
Yeah, of course.
or ma-cheapen yung marriage in a way na mawala yung substance, and it becomes practical
Yes.
also.
Oh, kasi there are no
Na what's yours is yours, what's mine is mine. So wala na masyadong accountability sa marriage. So like if I was, let's say someone gets married, yung mayaman, then may prenup sila na very strict and binding.
Right.
So the husband would siguro, let's say may womanizing problem. So mas yung approach niya, anyway, may prenup, I can just cheat right away, or mas convenient kasi mas may way out.
Oo. Kaya ano yan?
So I can be
Right.
unfaithful,
oo.
or mas may
Right.
avenues for being
Right.
unfaithful.
That's why the policies have to be put in place. Oo. Policies yan. Oo.
Okay, goes back sa anong na pag-usapan.
Diba? So it always goes back to the policies talaga. And the earlier that you're able to do that, the better for the family.
Okay. Sige. So ano pa? What advice would you give, given, of course, you've been doing this, family corporations. But anong other subjects do you master, or
thank you.
yung
Okay.
expertise mo?
Well, in Guthrie Jensen, we're all full-time consultants, and part of our training is we try to master as several several programs as much as possible. No? So I conduct Managing the Family Business. It's one of my programs, but I also conduct programs on leadership. I conduct programs on management, finance, communication, even sales. So, ano kami? What's the right word? We wear many hats. But of course, ano yan? And of course, we continue to build programs as well. Kaya that's how we've grown also. No? That now we started, when we started in 1979, we just started with 2 programs. Now we have 120 programs. So I conduct a lot of those programs as well. So the program I'm conducting tomorrow here in Cebu, and that's why Cebu, thank you.
This is 2 days.
2 days
program.
where I'm conducting a program on strategic leadership. No? It's a program I've created kasi the challenge talaga is as you go up the corporate ladder, you're in operations, diba? But you now become responsible for more people. You have a greater scope now. You have to move from an operational mindset to a more strategic point of view or perspective. So that's where strategic leadership comes in. Here in Cebu, we also conduct the 5-day MBA. No? So I handle, I can handle several days of the MBA, but right now I handle day 1, which is finance. But the MBA kasi ano kami, no? The core subjects of any MBA, we have, I handle finance right now. Another consultant handles strategy. We have marketing, management, and leadership. So depending on your needs, of course, we'd love to have our participants. So we have participants from different industries, regardless of the size of their companies, no? And whether private or public sector, they are welcome to attend. Yeah, thank you, by the way, for attending Managing the Family Business last